to send to them responding. There's not much response since we agree with them totally on the TMDLs, which is really the only thing that mattered, but if anybody has any comments or additions or corrections to the draft letter?
Philosophical one, I would just make it slightly more personal. Okay. You say the committee and the committee. I would say this committee, okay. Or, and then the second time it comes up, I would even go so far as to say we are also in support, right? Oh. It's just a little more okay. Personal investment in the okay. Process.
Anybody object to that? No. Nope. Okay. This committee and little.
I'm making the changes. So okay. This committee very much supports, and then the committee would be changed to we in the second sentence?
I would say we are also in support of yep. BP's statement.
Okay.
And the only other thing I would add, do we want to rationalize that or not? I don't think we do, because they do in their document. Right. And we would, the only way we might elaborate on that is to say we agree with BP's rationale for reducing the frequency of sampling or something like that. But
well, I think we definitely wanted to comment on the fact that going forward, they're suggesting that the sampling be roughly half
right.
that what we're doing now, and that's a significant savings.
Yeah.
But I've forgotten, I don't actually remember that they gave a rationale for why they thought half was sufficient. I thought it was just really good that
they did not give a rationale.
They did.
Well, other than the fact that establishing what was going on was important with the frequency of the sampling and looking at temporal changes and spatial changes and everything else. Mm-hmm. But then once you want to find out later what's happening, having established what's already happening, you could spread it out. I mean, right. That's not the way they phrased it, but yeah, no, I just it's just a minor thing. I'm very happy with what Eric did here.
Because most of the estuaries have about 6 sampling sites, and so cutting it down to 3 is, certainly doable.
Sure. All right, can I have a motion to accept the letter as amended?
I'll so move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay. Other project reports. PRB Working Group.
Yes.
Virginia.
Okay. Just by way of introduction, Tom, every so often we just sort of run through the whole suite of mm-hmm. all the things we're doing to keep them all on the radar screen. So the PRB Working Group, which I'm on, has 2 reports. One is that we've completed the application for the Section 319 grant. SIA did a ton of work on that. This puts a 200-foot PRB into a parcel that the town owns on the corner of Shorewood and Route 28. And when this came before the board for recommendation, I'm just reminding the committee that we agreed that part of the in-kind match would actually be $52,000 from Article 17. And that's now been approved by the selectmen as well. So you basically have a $300,000 grant request and $140,000 in kind, of which $52,000 is Article 17. And the second is sort of a freebie. And Matt Charette would be giving this report if he were here. He's also on this PRB Working Group. And that is that NOAA is testing some new equipment that has to do with radiocarbon dating of groundwater. And Matt suggested, and they readily agreed, that we use the well that's on the corner of Shorewood and Route 28 that was installed by the USGS. And it has well points every 4 feet. So we have a wonderful cross-section of about 15 sampling points going through as a profile for the groundwater. We believe that the groundwater is at different ages as you go down through that profile. So those samples were taken last week. They'll be analyzed, no cost to the town, and we should have the results in 1 to 2 months.
Any comments or questions? Thank you very much. Winds Pond Inlet Widening and Bridge Replacement Project. Virginia.
Oh, that's also me. But it's also Tom.
I'm on board, yeah.
Tom's on board with that. So we had our first hearing, opened the hearing with the Conservation Commission On April 28th, it was continued to June 7th, which is next week, with a series of questions. They wanted more information on dredging, a little more on historical data. They wanted more detail on monitoring going forward. How do you know that what you did actually made a difference? And we're working on those responses with John Ramsey of Applied Coastal and GHD, the engineers, and that'll be presented next week. That's it.
Any comments or questions on that? Okay, thank you. Oyster Pond Working Group, Steve.
Well, we, mostly with SIA's help and some help from Wright Pierce, have updated numbers on costs of sewers and of IAs, and Ed will be working on a final version of the alternatives analysis, which I think we will be looking at in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Right, we'll get it distributed before that,
Right.
but we talked about that.
And I understand from SIA there's some good news from your meeting this morning.
Yeah, that's under IAs, which
Oh,
comes,
okay.
which
Right.
comes next, but
Right.
it'll be relevant to everywhere. Okay, anything else on Oyster Pond?
This is the alternatives analysis, which is one of the steps along the way to ultimately getting
The CWMP.
CWMP. Okay.
Yeah, it really is boiled down to two options, a sewering option and a IA option.
Right.
And this analyzes both in great detail as far as costs and
Right.
issues.
And it's really quite a horse race between the two alternatives. It's not easily predictable.
Interesting.
It changes as
Yes.
neither one is, 10 times better than the other one. It's not an obvious thing. It depends on the detail.
Because the process has been really good, because every time we get an iteration, we pick away at it, and we find something that could be improved or changed, or a number that
Right.
needs more scrutiny, and this will be relevant for IAs across the board, but it's been fascinating to see how,
How that's unfolded.
yes, and the fact that no one's ever done it,
Yeah, right, exactly.
we're doing it. Okay, West Falmouth Harbor IA Systems, Phase 2.
It's hard to type and talk at the same time. Okay, we are well underway with the two phases of that project. One is coming up with the municipal management framework, and we've been talking about that. And the other is actually enrolling participants in the program. We have 3 definite participants, and I spoke with Corin earlier, and she's got a number of additional residents there. People are trickling back after being in other places in the winter, and so this is a very good time to be enrolling. We believe we'll have 10, and do the permitting over the summer, and then after Labor Day, do the installations, because nobody wants their yards disrupted over the 8 weeks of perfect weather we get.
Is 10 the goal right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
10 is
That's the
10 is the goal
funding.
for Phase
Yeah,
2.
okay,
Phase
good.
1, we did 20, so Phase 2 is 10 additional
Yeah.
systems. And we did a sampling round yesterday, and we will see those results. So we started this, people were gone, now they're back, so we did a first round of sampling for, May, yesterday, and so we'll have the results soon.
Now, George Hoyfelder has a grant for the same purpose. Are you competing with him in West Falmouth for locations?
We're not. His 12 are throughout Buzzards Bay.
Okay.
So he's looking in Westport, he's looking in Marion, he's looking other parts of the entire Buzzards Bay watershed. So, no. We would put IAs in, we've put 2 IAs in West Falmouth. And we're actually putting another IA in Sipawissett Road, which is part of Buzzards Bay, but not part of West Falmouth. So George's grant is covering that.
And these IAs are what we're calling the layer cake.
The layer cake, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
specifically.
Okay. Now the
Are
other,
we going to say the good news?
I was going to say, the other half of this report is, we did meet with
Brian Dudley?
Brian Dudley this morning and discussed the work that we had been doing on IA management and monitoring, and we found that we actually gained some ground, I would say. Anyone else who was there who would want to speak on that?
Well, he apparently had not expected quite as much monitoring as we thought he was expecting. So it works down to about 1.5 times a year instead of 3, which is what was in the document that we last examined. So that changes the economics. So everything gets monitored at least once a year. Some get monitored a second time. And 1.5 is, for purposes of the spreadsheet, how that number is arrived at. Instead of, we were expecting twice with inspections plus 1 additional random.
But it's my understanding there are other people in DEP in the hierarchy.
Yep.
Do they still matter? Or will they just rubber stamp what Brian Dudley
Oh,
said?
they matter.
We'll be making the case to them too.
When, do you have an approximate idea when you'll?
Well, sometime this month. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's going to be an ongoing conversation. By the time we put everything out in 2019, we don't want anybody to be surprised. We want them all. We want to have a good sense of where they're from and where we are.
So maybe we should rewrite that document reflecting
Yes.
the ground gained with Brian before it's shown to the other people.
Yes.
It's in the process.
Right.
It's on my list.
You will be having another working
Pray for
group
rain.
meeting.
Yes,
It'll get
as
done
soon
faster.
As soon as Ed does it, we'll get a working group meeting and move on.
Right.
Okay, anything else on the Oyster Pond working group?
MIA.
West Falmouth High A's, okay, Shellfish.
I guess I'm the shellfish person
You're
here.
the Shellfish
Yeah,
person.
shellfish.
I guess there are 2 things to report. One is that the aquaculture plan has been sort of finalized in draft form, and we are having a public meeting to present that plan on June 6th, 6:30, Herman Room, Falmouth Public Library. And so that's going to be a public presentation, and the plan is to gain comments, welcome people's perspectives. Then the Shellfish Working Group will meet again, make revisions, and then the document will be finalized and brought to the Board of Selectmen, and we're tentatively planning for June 19th, whatever that Monday is, to present the draft plan to the Board of Selectmen. In other news, SMAST contract for Bournes Pond monitoring has been signed,
Ah,
and we were able to go out and do a field view of the oysters that were bottom planted last fall, and they're there. So that was great news. And they are growing. You know, we pulled a number of them up. You can see the growth. And so SMAST is working on making sure that their experimental protocol meets the experimental setup. So we were able to do that. They're planning to do the cores in July and August after there's been some fecal deposition, so that there were pseudo-fecal deposition for the denitrification, so that's on track. The project's on track, I think. It's a short story.
Any other comments or questions? I have a question. Remember back in West Falmouth, we had the Shellfish Reef
The oyster bed,
oyster. How's that going?
it's there. We have not gone out and, we have to dive on it. We haven't dove on it yet. We will.
There was grant money involved in that.
Yep, and we wrote the final report and submitted it, and it's been accepted, and that grant is closed out
Perfect. So whatever happens there is just gravy.
for our interest,
Yeah,
which we're interested,
sure.
so,
Especially near the Sentinel Station.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, Quashnet Moonakis River Study.
That'd be me again.
You again?
The work was completed.
Oh, what?
Oh, yes, last summer.
All right.
And the report is due June 30th. So SMAST is working diligently to complete their the report that presents the findings of that analysis.
will we get it in draft form?
Yes.
Okay.
Can
We'll
you
get it in typical-
remind us succinctly what it is?
What the report is?
What was the point of the study?
The flushing. It was to understand the tidal dynamics at the Quashnet Moonakis, to verify the nitrogen loading, and to look at suitable habitat for shellfish. So we went out a number of times, or SMAST and we went out a number of times, And if you look at the head of that system, it's very fresh, and the shellfish did not grow. And as you get closer to where it comes out onto into Wacoit Bay, it becomes more and more suitable. There's a bridge over, tell me the road, I'm just drawing a blank on the,
Right, Meadows Road, something like that.
yeah,
Well, it's the only bridge south of
yeah,
28.
right, so it's and there's a real distinction in water quality there, and there were tide gauges that we put in to watch what happens tidally in and out of that system, to look at loading and flushing. So I don't know what the results are, but that's what they did.
Yeah, and the question that got everybody going was, how come what's this hot spot here for nitrogen? What's happening here?
Yep.
We're gonna have to
Find out.
answer.
And the other point was that this is a shared report, that Mashpee funded, not quite half, but anyway, roughly half.
All right, any other comments or questions on the Quashnet Moonakis River study? Mill Pond study? Anybody
Right.
Who knows anything about?
We keep the Mill Pond study on
Right.
because
We did have a little go-around about getting the contract signed. and
Right.
That has occurred.
that's finally got happening. And data is being collected by a graduate
Right,
student.
they're out there doing the work anyway.
That's right.
They did the work, and they went and did sediment cores
Oh, that would be interesting.
about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So they've been quite active doing the field work.
Great. All right, reports of members and staff. My colleague here could report on his boating accidents and disasters, but he won't.
No, I'm not going to say anything about that.
And any other reports of members and staff? No? Okay.
No.
Minutes of the prior meeting were distributed via email to,
Were they? I looked,
I haven't,
uh-oh.
I don't think.
Did I forget to send them?
I think you forgot to send them.
I don't think I saw them.
Right.
See
I-
his first mistake.
That's funny, because
Right.
I said in the actual body of the email, the minutes are attached.
Yes.
Nobody told me.
Sorry.
That's
It shows
okay.
you how many people read them.
We're reducing your adornment from a crown to a tiara.
All right.
That's it.
Well, in that
All right.
case, we won't filter minutes of the prior meeting.
Sorry.
I guess they'll wait.
You could have those approved by email if you wanted, or wait
Oh,
2 weeks.
We'll just put them,
We'll
I'll
go back
just,
in 2 weeks.
I'll just not forget them with these minutes, which are going to be really short,
Yes.
and I'll send those out for the next meeting, which we should discuss.
Right, before we move to adjourn, let's take a look at the next meeting, which is on the 15th.
And that's when our friend from EPA is
Right,
coming.
the EPA expert on eelgrass is going to be here to talk about that,
Okay, that's at 3:30.
3:30.
Okay.
And then we're going to take up, by then the working group will have, once again, taken a look at and finalized the report on
Oyster Pond.
IAs and Oyster Pond and all that, so we'll have that to talk about in some detail.
And we'll probably report back on how the Conservation Commission
Yes.
hearing goes
Right,
next
by then
week.
you'll know about
Right,
that.
yeah, right. So this.
That's a big meeting,
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yep.
because people agonize over both the Oyster Pond and the IAs. And a guest speaker always takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
There you go. These three people.
We'll hope it's not a sailing day.
Well, it's at 3:30, so
3:30, so
we
it's
have to get our
already.
sailing done before.
Right.
No meetings in the morning, Eric. No Thursday morning.
That's the new rule, no
But-
meetings in the morning.
No meetings in the morning if we have a meeting in the afternoon.
Oh,
That's true, because it does kind of ruin the day.
It was
Yeah.
very foggy out there,
It was. Till when?
so you didn't miss much. It still is, I think.
Oh.
Oh, really?
It doesn't look it here.
Good. And it's really windy, like super windy.
Oh, well, okay, that's a good reason. Let's have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Move that we
I'll
adjourn.
second that.
Moved and
Wow.
Seconded, further discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it.
All right.
We are adjourned.